Hello and welcome to Mad About, the podcast where we talk neurodivergence, life, business and money. I'm Maddie Alexander-Grout, I'm your host, and today I am joined by the lovely Sara-Louise Ackrill, who is the co-author of Endy Lovers Club and the founder-director of Wired Differently. And
Hi.
I'm very excited. Hi. It's lovely
Thank
to have
you.
you. Really nice to have you here. We've had quite a long chat before, but it's something that I think this is going to be a really good podcast today. I'm super excited about it. Sara, tell me a little bit about you and what you do.
So I founded Wired Differently during lockdown, between lockdown 1 and 2, and I've been a therapist for over 12 years. That's my main skill set. And I didn't want to go back to a day job. I wanted to go into social impact entrepreneurship. So I started a company with lots of different products and services, and now quite a large team working in neurodiversity, from women's health to virtual assistants to writing books, and of course the therapy still. And we've got numerous associates working in that area too.
Love that. So when you got, I'm going to go back to your neurodivergence and your diagnosis. When did you find out that you were neurodivergent?
I was diagnosed as being autistic when I was 38, so it will be 10 years next year. And I was assessed and found out about my ADHD also between lockdowns. I think that may have been between lockdown 2 and 3. And basically, I knew that I was different and neurodivergent a long time before that. I always knew that I was kind of communicating almost behind double facing. That's how I describe it. And I knew that I was finding it impossible to live with partners, and I was finding relationships hard. Money had been hard, health, mental health. There were so many things, but I didn't necessarily know that the name for that was neurodiversity for quite some time.
Yeah. I think so many people will relate to that. I always describe mine as kind of like after my kids came, I was kind of okay at looking after myself because I didn't really have any responsibilities. Probably also why I was so shit with my money. But the kids came along, and then it was like, oh, all of the wheels have fallen off, and there's definitely something wrong with me. I'm not a normal human. So
That
yeah,
must
it was an interesting
horrendous.
ride.
No, I can
Yeah,
imagine. And a
I
lot of
think it
people
was.
do find out because of having kids.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think the hormones and the life change and the fact that you're then responsible for, small things that live and breathe. Really before that, I couldn't even really take care of pets. Like I killed a hamster once, not on purpose, but it happened. The amount of fish that I've been through. I mean,
Yeah.
even up until recently, I went into the kitchen the other day and I was like, oh shit, I haven't fed the fish for a while. Yeah, I don't think I need to feed the fish anymore. And I looked into the fish tank and
Oh
I was
my
like,
God, that
there is no
awful
water in
awful
there.
realization.
Oh, it's so horrible. Do you know what it is? It's like out of sight, out of mind. Like the dog mithers me all the time, so I
Yeah.
know I have to feed him. The kids mither me all the time, so I know I have to feed them. The fish just sits there quietly without any form of like notifications. So yeah, sadly the fish is no more.
Yes, no
But I have used that.
notification. I love that. And talking of pets, I'm just picking up my puppy who needs attention right now.
No, look, she's gorgeous. We love her. We love
This is
having animals
Disney.
on this show. Oh,
Good, that's
tired
all right
Disney.
then. I
Don't
think this may
yawn.
be her first podcast.
Oh, I love a debut podcast. No, it's really interesting, isn't it? I think when you get diagnosed later on in life. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism at the age of 37. So very, very similar timings to you. And how did you feel when you first got that diagnosis?
Oh, at peace, I think. All the
Yeah.
mental chatter. I think, when I was on weight loss drugs, I heard about food noise. and they cut out food noise. I think when I got my diagnosis, it cut out neurotypical noise. But maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm just odd. Maybe people just don't like me. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this world. No, I'm just neurodivergent. Wow. So I think it cut out that chatter and that uncertainty, and it took away imposter syndrome, because I had started identifying as neurodivergent, as people do, before I got the diagnosis. I know most people don't have a diagnosis. I'm very lucky to have one at all. So yeah, I would say it just gave me some inner peace.
I love that. I think it's one of those things, isn't it, where you don't really know how you're going to feel until you get that diagnosis, and then it comes and it's like, oh, well, that explains a hell of a lot. And for me, it was definitely, it explained why I didn't fit in school or in the workplace. It explained why I couldn't hold down a relationship. It explained why I was a bit slutty in my early years. You know, people didn't call me a slut. I kind of called myself. It was harsh, but fair.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that too. It was, yeah. I mean,
yeah. We've got a very slight delay on the recording, so if we're talking over each other, that would probably be why. but
we
yeah,
have got a bit of delay. Yeah.
It's actually quite a long delay. It's like 5 seconds or so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very long delay. I'm going to pause and see if I can actually just do it again. Hang on.
Not the norm.
Super annoying. Anyway, we'll try and carry on. We'll see if this works. So Sarah, tell me a little bit about your money story.
My money story is that I was paying the rent off credit cards from a very young age. I got given my first credit card when I was 17. The bank manager said, "Oh, we'll just say you're 18 and get it done." And I think that I very early on learned to just feel entitled to stuff I didn't have money for. And I think I had a lot of mental health issues, and I was quite unstable. And I spent many years in debt. So at 26, I went bankrupt in the High Court. And it included my student loan. It was something that a lot of people said, you shouldn't do. I know I was living in France at the time, and the people that knew about it there found it quite distasteful, because it's not really, well, it wasn't at that time a thing to go bankrupt. Certainly not at that age, and certainly not as an individual. That was a business thing over there. And then over here, I had friends and family sort of saying, "Oh my God, you need to just sort it out somehow. You shouldn't be doing that." But then the minute I did it, everyone who had said that was like, "Oh God, I'm so proud of you. I'm really glad you've done this for yourself. Like, you can now have a clean slate." I'm definitely not advocating it. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's also not something I'm ashamed of. And the definition of being in debt at that point, when at the High Court, was, would it take an unacceptably long amount of time to clear? And it was worked out, it would have taken about 55 years or so for me to clear it off. So yeah, I mean, I think it was something like, I was 26. I'm not very good at memorizing numbers. I think from memory it was 26 or 27,000 pounds. So it, I mean, as they said to me, there are people with far worse debts and there are people with far smaller debts, but in my particular circumstances, I mean, and also it wasn't a personal judgment. I was expecting like a courtroom, like you get in, in series, but actually it was a real bureaucratic process. And it was horrible waiting for it, because I thought I was waiting for a verdict, but actually I wasn't. I was just waiting for someone to rubber stamp what was my decision. Yeah, I mean, it got wiped off my record within 12 months in theory, because I did it during a period where it was very short-lived bankruptcy and you could recover faster. But that's not technically true, because for at least 10 years after, it followed me round. But it's never been an issue, because I've never wanted credit. I've never wanted to buy a house. I don't drive. I don't want to buy a car. I'm happy renting. I love my life. I can now be a company director because, enough time had passed. And I make use of that. I think, like yourself, I make use of a lot of my life experiences when I'm working with people, particularly young people. And I
Mm,
can say I've been there, and being in debt was horrific. Step change was amazing. I used step change. I used step change when I was in a domestic abuse. Well, I was with a partner who was a domestic abuser, and they left me with a lot of debt, and I had to clear that. And I got help with step change. That was incredible experience. But when I went bankrupt when I was 26, that was National Debt Line, and that was also amazing. And you didn't have all these scary letters. You didn't
mm,
have people ringing you and making sort of horrible, crass bullying comments, because, you know, I know that being in debt is a horrendous pressure. And the way it affects your mental health, the way it makes you feel about your inside your body, I suppose, being neurodivergent and processing these horrible trapped feelings. It was visceral. It was horrible. It was like living with a very, very low ceiling. I couldn't breathe. The pressure on me was enormous. And you sort of bury it and I used to tell myself it was fine, it was manageable, but it wasn't. It was affecting everything. And the relief when
mm.
it went was just incredible. But I'm not advocating it and I'm not advertising it, you know?
I think it's really good for people to get a good view of like why it can be really good, and in other
Mm,
situations where where actually it's not great. So if you run a business and you want to be a company director, it's a no-go. If you own a house, it's not the solution for you. But
mm,
if you are somebody who is renting, somebody who is, in significant amounts of debt, and it's not going to have that hold on you in the future, like when I went down that route and I went to citizens advice, and they said to me my only option was bankruptcy or paying it off. And I worked out it was going to take me 60 years to pay it off. But
yeah.
I did pay it off, and it was a very, very, very hard journey. But I wouldn't change it for the world, because I wouldn't be where I
Mm,
am now had I gone down that route. I need to
mm,
learn more about money, and I learn everything there is possible to learn. Um, but actually, one of the
yeah.
things now, because when after I'd become debt free, I then got back into debt again accidentally, because my business went under after COVID, and I ended up in another £45,000 of
Awful.
debt. Yeah, which was really bad. But the good thing about it was, because I knew I'd paid it off before, and actually I knew that if I kind of coordinated, and if I communicated with my debtors, that actually they do leave you alone as long as you're paying something for it. So I just thought, you know what, that's a future me
Mm,
problem. I'm now 2 years later, I'm almost at the point where I've almost paid all of it off. So it has
thank
been a very,
God.
very different situation. But I think bankruptcy nowadays doesn't come with that level of shame, I don't think. And step change are amazing.
Mm. Yeah, step change are amazing. They even sent me like a letter on the day that my last installment went out, because for people who don't know, they kind of consolidate your debts, but not in a way where they take commission. It's all free and it's all confidential and
Mm,
it's all charitably run. And they just take one figure every month and then they divvy it out among your creditors. And what was really great was, on my last installment, I got a letter with a big congratulations, and you opened it up and there was like a picture of like some, I don't know, some festival or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a lovely thing. They're celebrating that I'm now debt free. And that was when I paid back what was my ex's debt, or debt that I'd been coerced into as well. So that was beautiful. And they were really lovely, because I spoke to them and I was like, you know, I bet you're going to tell me that I can live on this and I shouldn't be having, like, you know, I think at the time I had like a gym membership, or I was getting massage for, because I'm autistic, I have very tight muscles a lot of the time. I get a lot of muscle tension.
mm,
And she said to me, we're not here to judge you and to make out that everything in your life is a luxury. Like, we're here to just be reasonable and to give you enough to live on so that you have a life. Because the whole point of this is
yeah.
that you can function and you have breathing space and you're healthy and your debt's getting cleared. So I think people worry that if they contact Step Change, they're going to be told to live on £2.50 a week, and then they're going to be shamed out of having like a hobby or whatever. And that's not the case.
Yeah. I think it's really important to remember that actually Step Change are like they are a charity. There are lots of like clear your debts now type of people, and they do take commission, and actually they are not always the
Yeah,
ones that you should be going with. Like Step Change, I always, I've done quite a bit of work with them in the past, and I do recommend them. They are really useful.
yeah.
Sarah, how if you don't mind me asking, can you talk to me a little bit about your relationship and the coercive control?
Yeah, so I entered into a relationship with someone who had not been working for quite some time, and I decided that I would, what I thought was helping them set up a business. So I set up for them, because they didn't know how to do that part, a
Mm,
website, and got a business loan and did all of that. But I could feel that the control and manipulation were settling in, and this was my fourth rodeo. Unfortunately, we're very prone to domestic abuse when we are neurodivergent and being victims of that. I then tried to be like, actually, I don't think I can sign this, and I don't think I can go ahead any further. And I was living in this real fear. I was waking up in the morning thinking, oh my God, it was almost like I knew I was in so deep that leaving would be dangerous. And I knew that I would never be rid of this person if I just said,
mm,
actually, can we just stop? I just knew. And I was proven right, because when I did leave, I was helped by the police. And if it wasn't for them going around and saying, here's a warning, and you need to not be in contact through you or your friends or your family, I don't know if I'd still be here. So
mm,
I definitely had that sort of spidey senses of, I'm in too deep here. And I kind of went through with things because I was really, really afraid. And I did not know, I didn't think there was any way that I was going to be able to get out of this. And it was like the only way out was through. And I convinced myself of a lot. I convinced myself that it was, the right thing to do. I convinced myself that, and this is away from any feeling for the person. This is not me talking about what I was feeling, because, that is not, I had all the feelings you would have in a relationship to be with someone. If anything, to be with someone that you're scared of, you're, in a way,
mm.
you kind of, you need those feelings more, because it kind of justifies in your head, well, why am I doing this? Because if you had no feeling, you'd be like, well, why am I here? That's part of what
Yeah.
gets you in that spider's web of control. Yeah, so that was horrible, because we then had a jointly signed loan, and this person was getting more and more concerning in their behavior, and making threats on the lives of people and animals I was close to. And I
Wow.
was then really in fear and feeling really disloyal and guilty to the people around me, because I knew that this person had made those threats and I was still with them. And
Mm,
oh, it was messy, and I felt full of guilt, and it was disgusting, a horrible, horrible feeling. And it was all tied up in this web of money and intimidation. This person was known as being very intimidating towards people and very frightening. Um,
mm,
and there was a lot of backstory that kind of corroborated that this person was very likely to be dangerous at any given moment as well, which backstory which you don't get given when you meet someone. You find it out
no.
as you go along, and people contact you, or you find out. So yeah, it was pretty, I can't believe now how much my life is different. I'm really, really glad that I managed to get out of all of that and start a business, and yeah, a
Yeah.
totally new chapter, thank God.
Yeah. Scary stuff. I mean, how did you manage to actually leave, and what was the financial impact there?
The financial impact was 8 grand,
Oof.
which meant that to pay it off as fast as possible, I had to get into a job that was decent, and get promoted as fast as I could and get higher
Mm,
earnings, which outside of London was particularly difficult.
mm,
Um, I had to call the police when it reached a crunch point on, it was Christmas Day. I was going to say, was
mm,
it Boxing Day or Christmas Eve? But it was actual Christmas Day that I had to call the police. And the police were useless. They had not been trained. And when I told them I'm 4 times overtrained in this and I work in that area as one of my niches, all of a sudden all the paperwork came out and I was taken really seriously. But they'd been joking that people fall out at Christmas and why don't you go back and kiss and make up? And it was just absolutely terrifying. I was hiding in the
Wow.
concierge's cottage on a holiday estate, where she was telling me she'd also had that and she totally got it. And I was basically hiding in her lounge. And then I had to be taken to kind of like a hotel. And it was a nightmare because nowadays in hotels, you can't just turn up and book a room over the counter. You have to book online.
No.
And I lost all my executive function. And I gave my phone to the policewoman and said, could you please book the room? I can't, I've completely shut down. I'm autistic. And she was like, no, we don't do that. You'll have to do it yourself. It was
Wow.
very much like, oh, for God's sake, it's Christmas. I should have been off duty half an hour ago. Can you just get this sorted? It was awful. It was absolutely awful. I couldn't stop shaking for 2 days. I couldn't get the train. I had to extend my hotel booking and stop shaking before I could then, and I couldn't plan a journey to get back to, at the time, Devon. So I was just frozen, that freeze response to trauma.
Yeah.
I was shaking, I was frozen, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't think. It was just awful, awful, awful.
What a horrible thing to have to go through. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
It's very common, unfortunately, but yeah, thank you. It's the 4th time I've had coercive control before. I've had public humiliation. I've had I've had the put downs, someone going silent on you for 2 weeks when you live in the same house and walking past you and brushing past you as if you're not there, turning the lights off when you're still in the room because you're invisible. That's the one that still makes my heart sink. It's weird. It's the subtle things that still affect you. If somebody, like, I once had a flatmate who would find it funny to turn the lights off when I was still in the room. And I was like, can you not do that? Because it just brings back memories and it just makes my heart sink because it's like you're nothing. You're so insignificant and you're so nothing. You're so a piece of shit that you just don't exist. And that, and it was just such a banal expression of my nothingness and my invisibility and my powerlessness. So of all the things I've had blackmail, if you take that promotion, I'll leave you, because the person didn't want me to be in a certain job, or I think it's so common. Really, it's awful, and that affects your income. I was earning next to nothing. I could have had a decent income. I mean, admittedly, I think now when I look back, I'm glad I didn't take the job. I don't think I would have coped. But yeah, I mean, how dare they not only control your self-esteem and who you're friends with, and the fact that you're always crying when you see your friends because they want you thinking of them while you're away from them all the time. Threatening everything that is near to you. But on top of that, if you take a promotion, if you take that, I'll leave you, and I mean, that directly then impacts your money, doesn't it?
Really does. It's awful. Like I can't put into words like how stressful it is being blackmailed. So like in my situation, it was like I knew that he wasn't right for me, and I knew that he was the cause of like so many of my problems.
Was this a romantic partner?
It was, yeah. And I was living with him, and he helped me with my debts somewhat, and he was an alcoholic, and he got violent one day, and I said I was leaving him, and he said if I left him, then he would unalive himself.
Yeah.
And it was, but that was repeated. It was.
I had that too from a couple of partners. Yeah, and the alcohol is a common theme as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually looking back at it, I think he was also neurodivergent but didn't realise. And I think, that was, the addiction problems, the problems with money, the hyper focusing on a partner, and actually that brings me very much to your book. Tell me a bit about your book, because I think it's really important to talk about it.
The Endy Lovers Club: How Neurodivergent Women Lust, Like and Love. It's a book I wrote together with my co-author, Buntle Sinner. We wrote it because we were sick of being in personal pain around relationships, and we wanted to create a space where neurodivergent women could come and feel validated and seen through experiences like we talk about domestic abuse, we talk about rape, we talk about other things like things that aren't heavy but are challenging. We talk about different sexualities, we talk about love languages, we talk about light stuff, we talk about dating, masking, authenticity. I think most Endy women would relate to most of it, because it is the whole spectrum of love, dating, communication is a big theme. We thought we were writing a sex book. We kept referring to it as a sex book, but actually it ended up being very much about relating to people, relating to yourself, making sure that you don't go dating and fill it with alcohol and food and spending, because that's not what real life is, and you need to learn to just do normal stuff with someone. Learning what relaxes you and learning to do it with someone else if you want to, and if you don't, that's okay. So yeah, we really do cover a lot. We've been told that it's like having a conversation at a kitchen table with a wise friend. We've been told that we keep being told it's wise, it's funny, it's hard hitting, but it's not heavy going, and it's a quick read. People have often said they've read it in a day or two. So it isn't afraid of hard stuff, but it isn't presented in a way, and there's plenty of warning, there's plenty of warning for what we would imagine could be a trigger, but obviously anything can be a trigger for anyone at any time. So we've tried to be really accessible, and and I think it's fun, and it's quite sassy, and it's how we really speak. We're just being ourselves as well.
Yeah. And is it suitable for non-binary people as well?
It is. We didn't say that explicitly on the cover because we both identify as neurodivergent women, but we are also both LGBT. We both identify as being LGBT, and we talk about relationships with people who are, for example, asexual. So yeah, we haven't specifically said that, but we also have had a lot of men read it because they're in love with an Endy woman. We've had women read it who've passed the book to their daughter. That's been a common theme, passing it to their teen daughter. We've had people read it because they didn't know they were Endy, but when they work out their relationship issues, that's how they've realized they're Endy. But we've called it for neurodivergent women because we felt that it's quite full of what we've learned, as well as what we know from Buntle being a sex coach and me being a therapist, who got the benefit of professional and personal. But we didn't want to speak on behalf of people who we're not. I mean, Buntle is a black lady from South Africa. I'm a white British woman. So there are certain groups that we can't speak for, and neither of us is non-binary, but I would say it's suitable 100%, but it isn't written by a non-binary person about their experience of being non-binary.
Totally get it. I think just like lots of my audience, might be interested, but the woman part of it might put them off.
100%. I get that totally.
Good to clear it up, because I don't want to lose you any book sales.
Well, I mean, and we don't want to be disingenuous and get any sales from anyone where we genuinely don't think it's suitable, but we just wanted to kind of caveat it with the fact that, we can't talk. Like, for example, there are men who've read it who are Endy about themselves, and they're like, this is fine. And we're like, yeah, but we couldn't say we wrote it for men because we aren't men, and we don't really know if,
I totally get it.
But I would say that's the only reason we called it for neurodivergent women, basically.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting, and I think there are lots of things there that I can relate to, things that have happened to me in the past, and quite triggering things, and I talk about them in my book, Mad About Money, as well.
Okay.
I think definitely worth you reading that as well.
No, I definitely want to read it because it's an unusual take as well. I love the fact that you're very holistic, and it's a money focus and a business focus, but money is a good way of tackling all kinds of subjects. So I love that you've involved all of that, and I'm definitely keen to read that. I've not come across another thing like it.
No, it is very unique, I think, which is why it helps a lot of people. And it's not just about money; it's about life being neurodivergent as well.
Yeah.
And I do talk about sex in the book, and I do talk about
Oh, wow.
some interesting things. I mean, limerence was a massive thing for me when I was younger.
Limerence and
Um,
infatuation. Yeah, people mostly know it as
God,
infatuation, don't they? But
yes,
yeah, it's a big
yeah,
deal.
it is. Mm. There was always somebody. Like, I actually feel really sorry for there was this guy Jake that I was obsessed with when I was at school, and I felt sorry for him because I literally used to like stand like on the corner between lessons, like waiting for him to pass so that I could speak to him
Yeah.
or like look at him or like say
Yeah.
hi. Like, he thought I was a complete and utter
Just
fucking
be near
weirdo, which I
him.
probably was. But he wasn't the only one. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and he occupied my thoughts every single day, all the time, forever. And that's the problem. Like, I think a lot of people think
Yeah.
that that is kind of normal behavior, and like, I would talk about boys constantly at school, which is another reason why a lot of people were like, oh, Maddie's weird, like, all she does is talk about boys, what a slut. But it was because I had limerence and I could not stop obsessing with these, like, and it was a different person. Like, it's almost like food. When you're neurodivergent, you obsess over one food and you eat it so much, and then you're like, one day you're just like, no, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
It would be like that. I would
And you can do
obsess,
that with
obsess,
lots of the
obsess.
songs as well.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah, absolutely. And then like, and then just one day I'd wake up and I'd be like, I don't like Jake anymore. I like someone else, and then my obsession would transfer onto that person.
Yeah,
And I
I did the
know that I was
same.
just searching for that reassurance, but it took over my life for so long, and people don't talk about it enough.
No, they don't. And Limerence, so the reason we started writing our book was Buntler heard me on a podcast. We'd already spoken about potentially working together, and we realized that wasn't quite clicking. Our skill sets were a bit samey and a bit too different. And we were like, no, we're not feeling that. And then she heard me on a podcast talking about writing about limerence. And she messaged me and said, I know what we can do together. You're writing about limerence and relationship, and I really want to write a book about Endy and relationships. And that's how it all started. And we do
Brilliant.
talk about the fact that I accidentally became a stalker when I was 16. And I didn't realize until actually not that many years ago, I was like, oh my God, I was a stalker. I literally was. And I had no idea until quite recently. And I recently actually helped someone who was going down that path, and they had never
Mm,
experienced limerence, and they're quite young. And I said to them, I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience. And they said to me, if you'd never been through it, you would never have had this patience. They've completely come out of it now. I'm so proud of
mm,
them. But they're like, oh my God, everyone else switched off after I'd mentioned that person 4 or 5 times, and everyone else was just
yeah,
rolling their eyes. And I was like, well, it wasn't easy because I wanted to shake you, but because I've been that person and I know how obsessive we can get.
yeah.
And I've not been like that for a long, long time now. And it's almost like I can barely imagine what it was like. But for many, many years, I was that person.
It's quite scary, isn't it? I mean, it's fine
Yeah.
if you're with that person, but also in two separate lights. It's actually also not fine if you're with that person,
Yeah.
because I remember my first boyfriend. So my first boyfriend, I think we called him Trevor in the book.
Okay.
Name name protected to like, I didn't want to
Of
like just
course.
name and shame all of my boyfriends.
Of course.
So
That's probably best
so
not to.
they've all got pretend names like Trevor and Clive and Bernard and stuff. Just
I
like, I
love that
wouldn't.
they're obviously pretend as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I can't imagine dating a Clive, to be honest.
It's
But
like the Freedom Program. I
yeah,
think they deliberately choose names that are like quite old school now so that you can just like
yeah,
see it as a cartoony kind of character. Yeah.
yeah. So my first boyfriend, like, I was obsessed with him. Like, we were together, we were amazing. Like, I completely forgot about spending money because sex was like quite a big thing, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna have sex all the time, every day. And I was a lot for him, but also he then went off to university and he cheated on me with some woman. And I was heartbroken, as
Yeah.
in, like, he had it, like, he may as well have died. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't just him I lost, it was his family as well.
Yeah.
Like, I got on really well with his mum and his brother. And
that's really hard to understand.
And the rejection sensitivity dysphoria that came along with that, it
Yeah.
was just all consuming and all too much. And it was just, absolutely horrendous.
Awful.
Like, people don't talk about relationships and neurodivergence as much as they should.
No.
Like, why people need to read your book, because I think it's really, really useful. But also as well, we have run out of time, which is really annoying. But I feel like we've got so much more to talk about, and I don't think this will be the last time you come on this show. I'm sure we'll get
Amazing.
you back.
Thank you.
Sara, tell our audience where they can find you.
Okay, so the website for the book is www.builttodiverge.com, and you can also find the Endy Lovers Club on Amazon. I'm really active on LinkedIn. I know that's not everyone's favorite platform. Being autistic, I like how formal it is, but I also talk about my meltdowns, so I'm definitely not formal on there. And Buntler is at buntlersin.com, so I'll probably give you the spelling. Both our names are quite long and hard to spell for the show notes. And I'd also like to maybe include the details of the Freedom Programme and Own My Life domestic abuse courses for anyone who relates to that as well.
Absolutely. And if you've got any resources that you can give to us for our community, that would be perfect as well. Like, we're always looking for people to give us extra value and stuff that we can, especially if it helps people as well. You know, if you want to do a guest blog for us or any of those kind of things, we can do that too.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Really, really interesting and important subject to talk about. And I think we did kind of bridge the gap a little bit with the delay. I think it kind of closed a bit towards the end, thank God.
Yeah.
That was a bit annoying. Like, imagine how hard that is for two neurodivergent people who already talk over each other to not talk over each other.
I know, but we've done a great job, and we were also very patient, which is not something we're known for with ADHD, right?
Absolutely. We got there in the end, and hopefully when you all listen back to it, it's not too bad. But if you have enjoyed this podcast today, leave us a review, subscribe, share with your friends, please. Come and download Mad About, which is my free neurodivergent community. It's on Heartbeat. And if you want to come and follow me, Maddie Talks Money on Instagram, Mad About Money Official on TikTok. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Maddie.